you see the looks on people's faces, just so much passion for the club.
Close but not close enough. That one very brief and sweet moment when Brighton took the lead and the whole Anfield erupted and everyone's heads fell off. That's the closest we've come to tasting a league title in nearly 30 years.
The title race last season was the most physically and emotionally draining thing I've ever been through in my life.
You get to that game, the Leicester game that Man City are playing, and possibly think this might be the one, as you did with every other game.
This might be it, this might be a chance, and then Company just absolutely batters that one in, and you think, yeah, that's probably done.
Just dejection, because, you know, at 0-0, you're kind of thinking, this is the one.
We have that very brief moment in the final game of the season where Brighton have taken the lead against Man City, and the word murmurs around Anfield that we're top of the league, it's happening, and then that gets crushed like less than 2 minutes later.
Getting so close, within a point of Manchester City, and then getting beaten. I think at the time I was like, oh my days, Liverpool aren't going to be able to come back and do this again.
Liverpool had the chances to get 97 points, what else could they do? You got nothing but respect for what City had done. It was frustrating, it was annoying, we've come close before. But at the end of the day, you've got to hold your hands up and say, you know, by a point, 2 points, 3 points, Man City with a better side in that Premier League.
To basically have the third highest points total in the history of the Premier League and to come home with nothing from it, without the Champions League, would have been utterly heartbreaking.
When you go and win the Champions League, you do think to yourself, all right, they've got a taste of it here.
I think it was massive winning the Champions League, to be honest with you.
I'm not sure without the Champions League, Liverpool have the ability to go again.
It was the fruits of your labour.
I think it told the players that everything they've been working for was right.
Having a Champions League win under your belt and be able to celebrate with your fans inside the stadium, but then to come out to a parade.
You know, they'll have seen the scenes that happens, you know, nearly 1 million people descending on Liverpool and partying over that European Cup, and they'll have wanted a taste for that, they'll have wanted more, and they'll know how much big trophies and certainly the European Cup means to us as fans, and I think that would have spurred them on, because they know they wanted to be the team that brings the Premier League trophy or the league back to Liverpool. So I think that spurred them on massively. I think, you know, having had a taste of it, they'll have wanted more.
You just want to be able to show these players and Klopp themselves that, look, we are here, this is the fan base, this is what you're working towards.
Driving around for hours, and I think it was a 2-3 hour delay because of how long it had taken them, probably showed them in real terms how big this club is, and it probably never even scratched the surface because we've got a global fan base.
That was a real show of force for me, for the fans, being able to just go, this is what we are.
So the squad are on absolute cloud nine right now. They've just won the biggest prize in football. They've just come back to this 750,000 people on the streets of Liverpool, absolutely adoring them, singing the name for hours and hours on end. Now let's go again.
Man City have pipped you to the league. Yes, you've won the European Cup, and yes, your squad looks in pretty rude health. You know, all the best players are all in the prime of their career. But you look at it and thinking, what can you do? What more do we need? And the obvious answer, and all of us as football fans will know, the obvious answer is transfers.
I do remember feeling at the time that Liverpool needed a body.
Liverpool have been linked with all sorts of players all summer. There's the usual ones, Timo Werner, Coutinho coming back, all that bollocks. But they actually only go out and sign Harvey Elliott from Fulham. They signed Sepp van den Berg, I think, and then Adrian comes in late to replace Mignolet.
There was a lot of complaints. The internet in particular is absolutely awash with people who just staggered that Liverpool haven't gone and spent big in the summer and really capitalised on that environment. Liverpool are all of a sudden the biggest team in Europe again. There's very few players in world football who wouldn't want a chance to come to Liverpool now, wouldn't want a chance to work under Jurgen Klopp, and it felt maybe like a missed opportunity.
I think there's always a fear from fans that if you don't buy anyone, you're either standing still or you're going backwards. Whereas Jurgen Klopp has proved that that's not necessarily always the case. But I think some people, including myself, need that reassurance that you've got to bolster.
A lot of people forgot that there was a great track record of signings and non-signings, and there's always this trust when the football's going on. But as soon as the football stops, that trust seems to evaporate in Klopp and his management staff, where they're thinking, we need to get someone in, when in reality, they know what goes on the training ground every week. They know best whether they need to get someone in, and it turned out we didn't.
I was lucky enough to speak to Jurgen in the summer and saying, how do you improve on that? And him sort of laughing a little bit, a bit of a wry smile.
You cannot cover each position with two players of the same quality. It's just not possible. So because you always create another problem in the squad, which nobody wants to hear outside. I know that, but it's still there. So you need to be creative. He can play, I think last year Hendo played right back, right?
Yeah. Did, yeah. What Jurgen and everybody inside Liverpool remembers better than us as fans is people can still get better. Players can improve, players can develop, your team can still get better. Your team can be better for just playing with each other week in, week out again. And we put too much faith as fans into transfers.
Felt like Liverpool walked into the season. It was a continuation. They just basically picked up where they left off and went again. It felt very much like, the first chapter of a new set of stories about these two teams.
It is two big sides. Yes, it is pre-season, but it's two sides going out there laying a marker down, and I think that's what it was. It was the two clubs going, whoever wins this game as kind of like a mental step up, and it turns out that didn't happen.
I say it's quite a lot about Jurgen Klopp. I don't think he's as emotionally attached to results as we are. I think he sees the performance a lot more than we do, or he picks out the positives in a game that you lose, and he'll see things that he can build upon, or things that we did right. But just sometimes it's just down to luck or chance, or again, City are a very good side. I think you have to take that into consideration.
What Klopp does is he uses that defeat as a motivational tool for the players for the rest of the season. So he says, stick around. Watch them lift it, soak up the defeat, and understand how this feels, and know that if you don't put everything you've got in this season, you're going to feel that feeling again.
And I think that instilled something in them for the Super Cup, for the Club World Cup, and for the rest of the Premier League season, in terms of saying, that should be you, lads.
They don't want to see Manchester City celebrating. They did celebrate that Community Shield, and they wanted to be the ones that celebrated come the end of the season.
A game of almost zero importance, a glorified friendly, could actually be attributed to a lot of the positivity that follows in the season.
The Premier League is back. It's the 2019-20 season, and it all kicks off this Friday. Liverpool against Norwich City.
All told, I wasn't sure whether Liverpool would win the league, or whether they'd be able to truly match Manchester City if they put in the same level of performance.
I thought they'd probably finish second again, to be perfectly honest. For so many years I thought this will be Liverpool's year, and weirdly, despite the fact that we were so good the season before, I didn't truly believe that it would be.
It was between Manchester City and between Liverpool, how Manchester City would have reacted to losing a Vincent Kompany and making changes, but also Liverpool off the back of a Champions League win and being 1 point behind the winners last season. How do they motivate themselves to go again? I believe that they could do it, But equally, I thought that Manchester City had a very good chance of winning it as well.
I wanted Liverpool to win the Super Cup. I wanted them to win the Club World Cup. And I felt they needed to win a domestic cup. And then the league would probably be a step too far for them. But at least you can say, look, we've gathered this and now we're ready to really launch into it the next season. And instead, we basically just went unbeaten for 3/4 of the season in the league instead.
Being back in the stadium, seeing how happy everybody is, seeing people I'd not seen since the season before, seeing people I'd not spoken to since they'd lifted that trophy and chatting to them about it, and then this huge just sort of swell of optimism in the ground, just absolutely brilliant to be a part of.
You've got all this positivity, you're having a good game, it's Norwich, it's a very winnable game, and then Alisson Becker gets injured and you think, is this the thing that's going to be the thing that undoes us this season?
Alisson Becker is one of the reasons that we've been able to put a sustained challenge in last season. Alisson Becker is one of the reasons that we've gone and won the European Cup, and to see him miss maybe 10 games of football so early on in the season, could we already fall behind Manchester City? Are we that unlucky that, you know, we get a good chance at winning the league and our goalkeeper goes down with an injury in the first game? And I'll be honest, I didn't know whether we'd come through that period.
That aura that he's got, the fact that he dominates his box, the fact that he's got the confidence of the four that are in front of him, and they've got his confidence as well of thinking, you know, there's something to build upon there. And what you don't want at the start of the season, the first game, is to lose someone who's an integral cog of someone who's just contributed to you winning trophies.
He does it by kicking the ball, so you already know that it is going to be one. He's going to miss a few games at least.
No one likes to lose a key player, especially not in the first game of the season. And probably as well, you're thinking, you can't help as a fan but think, is this going to be our luck for the rest of the season?
Adrian's here, but you didn't expect to see him at all, really.
I love that reception Adrian got at Norwich because everyone was nervous. He knew that everyone was nervous, but given that almighty roar when he comes on, and it just shows, yeah, we believe in you. You're going to have to be playing quite a few games for us over the next few months if Alisson's going to be injured, so you've got our support, and I think that was massive for him.
If he'd just come in for the League Cup games like he was meant to, like, we'd have probably been dead nervous about him, but we literally dragged him in, signed a contract, threw a shirt and some gloves at him, and then lashed him out onto the pitch, and it was fine.
Adrian goes on, has a few good games and wins us some points, and then you think, oh, actually, that narrative's changed slightly.
So we go and win that Norwich game 4-1, it's comfortable, you've got some nice goals, and it felt very much like, right, job done there, 37 to go.
Just an amazing city. We had such a great time in the build-up to it.
We barely saw a Chelsea fan over there. It was Liverpool fans left, right and centre. Going into that ground, knowing that you had a chance to lift another trophy on foreign soil, and for me, you know, potentially to see my first trophy lift as a Liverpool fan, I was really looking forward to that. And then it goes to penalties and you're thinking, oh, this is now just a lottery. We've lost penalty shootouts before. I remember Manchester City in the Capital One Cup going back a few years as well. And there's other games, isn't there? So, you know, you gotta pull it out of the bag to win this game.
I think it's massive for Adrian to go out there and put out a performance like that. He makes some really good saves. Look, it's a great save with his feet against Tammy Abraham to make sure that we lift the trophy. And I love the story that comes out of it, that he gets to take the trophy home. I think James Milner says to him, no, take that home because you earned that.
He'll have known getting into this squad how good everybody else is, and he's come in short notice. He's the number one because Alisson's injured. and he needs to feel a part of that squad. Now, you go and almost single-handedly lift the trophy. That's what happens in a penalty shootout when the goalkeeper saves it. You know, you're instantly integrated into that squad. You feel like you belong there, and I think that gave him a lift.
Most people will ultimately remember that game for, you know, Adrian celebrating Klopp going, Adrian!
Like Rocky!
To say to Adrian and give him a confidence boost and welcome him to the side and make him feel like a Liverpool player, despite him only being here for relatively 5 minutes, I think that was almost just as important as the game.
To pick yourself up, win a trophy, that's, I think, if there's a singular game that's a part of this season that sets the precedent for the rest of it, Chelsea has got to be it.
The season's 3 games old, and I've lived through 2 penalty shootouts already, having gone through the most exhausting season in my life. I was absolutely destroyed. So then you just got Southampton, Arsenal, Burnley, Newcastle. You've got a Napoli defeat in there, of course, but Liverpool just go through the gears.
We know that we're going for even more than we did last season, and I think the fans fed on that as well. We never stopped. Every game we carried on going, and we knew every single minute there was something to fight for.
But what they were in the habit of doing was just dispatching teams, still conceding maybe the odd stupid goal along the way, but Joel Matip established himself, then Dejan Lovren starts to come into the team, and Liverpool just win every game of football. It's astonishing.
We have to, and probably still are, adjusting to the way that Liverpool play these days. You know, we've gone for this heavy metal football where we'd score 5 and the opposition team would score 2, and you know, it's great on the eye, it's great to watch, it's entertaining, we're scoring loads of goals. Whereas, you know, I think Jurgen come out himself and said, you know, defence wins your titles. And so we had to kind of shore up our game. You know, we were leaking goals left, right and centre. Whereas now it was getting used to this. We were always in control of games. Yeah, we weren't playing great football, but, you know, we're always dominating possession, which again doesn't win you games. But I was always confident. And the more it went on, I think if this is our new way of playing football, this is how we win games. We wear the opponent out. We keep hold of the ball. We'll make them do all the running.
In amongst all this, City start dropping points. I think they draw against Spurs 2 or 3 games into the season, and you're like, oh, okay, it's got a last-minute VAR decision and all that, and a few games later they end up losing to Norwich City, and that was a big moment of the season for me. I remember watching that in the Albert in Lark Lane, and the atmosphere was great. It was like we were watching a Liverpool game, because we knew after the title race last season, a City loss is as good as a Liverpool win for us.
Norwich beating Man City told the Premier League that City were beatable.
You think we're in for another real hard slog of a season with 2 teams who are going to both be at their absolute peak, their absolute best, and a level consistency that the Premier League hasn't really seen over the course of 2-3 seasons before. I mean, you know, consecutive 90-plus points tallies, just absolutely ridiculous. So when they then, you know, they draw, then they lose against Norwich, you're thinking, oh, hang on a minute, what's going on here?
I remember back in the day, it was City, when they went out against teams, the teams had already been beat, and it was a flip. Liverpool were now that team where when teams went out there, they were already beaten, and Man City were the team where teams thought they could just get something if they carried on hard enough.
Norwich, because if they'd just been newly promoted, probably had no fear, nothing to lose. They went for it and they got 3 points. I think that was a massive signal to other teams around the league to go, this Manchester City side can be got at, this Manchester City side can make mistakes, this Manchester City side are vulnerable. So would they go and play them? The expectancy isn't for, I don't know, a Crystal Palace or someone else to actually go and take the 3 points, but you know, it's always, you know, the bookies or the fans will say, well, this is Manchester City's game, but you don't try, you won't get nothing from them.
Look, Norwich were rubbish this season. They should have had no chance of getting anything from Man City, but they did. And I think when you can see that, well, what ends up being the worst team in the Premier League can do it, then it gives the sense that anyone can do it.
You see the gap, and you can't help but think this is a great start. Obviously, you know, there's so long to go, but it is the start of it.
I didn't think the title was done and dusted. I didn't think City would go on to lose as many games as they did. I didn't actually think it was that important at the time, because I did think they'd go on a winning streak.
Sheffield United were really good, like really good, properly did a number on us, we couldn't break them down. It takes a moment where Dean Henderson just chucks one in for us, which is great as a Man United player.
It is a running theme of this season, but that's born out of a winning mentality. That's not born out of, yes, it was Dean Henderson's mistake against Sheffield, but it was, I never say die attitude. That's what the whole season was for me. Whenever I look back on this, it's going to be them marginal wins, them marginal gains, because we're given an extra 10%, an extra 15%, because we know that we're the best team in the world.
But it all comes back to Barcelona. It comes back to a t-shirt that Mo Salah was wearing, and it's just as simple as never give up. And that was drilled into this squad throughout everything that we've done this season. It didn't matter if we were behind, it didn't matter if we were drawing, we were going to play till the final whistle, whether that be 90, 95, 96, 97. This Liverpool side were fighting for 3 points, and because of how close the league was the season before when we got 97, instead of maybe being that little bit, you know, pragmatic, we were going for wins. 3 points is what we're going to need to finish ahead of Manchester City each and every time we took to the field. That was the mentality, and that was born out from the coaches, through the players and the fans.
It was the first game, I think, where we used the expression, that's title-winning form. When you're charting the big games and the important moments where you're starting to create an order, and that order is Liverpool will not be beaten, Liverpool will win. This was probably the first sort of milestone for it. Liverpool battered Leicester that day. They absolutely played them off the park, and they had one moment and they scored, which is very typical of Liverpool in the years leading up to this, and that's normally where Liverpool would have drawn that game.
And then the last 10 minutes is ticking by and it's getting harder and harder, and then Mane wins a penalty in the 93rd, 94th minute, and it's just unbelievable. It's one of my favourite moments of the season. We win that penalty, and then who steps up? It's James Milner, and he's not going to miss it. He never misses penalties. 94th minute winner, and Anfield just erupts.
It ended up being another milestone, another touch point where you talk about Liverpool constructing an aura, constructing the run, constructing a Premier League title win, because that was when you start putting together last gasp wins, it starts to foster a feeling amongst the fans and most importantly the squad that as long as there's seconds on the clock, there's a chance to win the game.
Great sides make their own luck. And that's what I've consistently watched Manchester United sides and Chelsea sides over the years, and the best Arsenal sides do this. When you are fighting for a Premier League or you're fighting for a league championship, you have to win games when you've played bad. This was one of my favourite games of the season. Now, the result doesn't go the right way. You know, Liverpool are in great form at the time. You get in there, and even before you got in, you could see all the little six balloons, and it was just a bad piss take. And it was taking the mickey out of Manchester United for being crap, and it was showing that we're the champions of Europe, you know, 6 times. And yes, Man United fans give us it the 20 times and everything back, but that's what football's about.
Manchester United are our biggest rivals and have been ever since I was born, so to be able to go and use that celebration that was from months before and still be able to carry it on and rub it in their faces, I think was extraordinary.
Like, we just went in there and had a laugh with it. Now, the game doesn't quite go to plan. We end up having to bring Adam Lallana on to secure a point for us. But Liverpool and the fans knew that we're in a better place than Manchester United, that we're miles ahead of Manchester United, and that's what we showcased as fans on the day. Bedlam. Absolute bedlam. I mean, I've been involved as a fan in some big games of footy, but, you know, for me, first time in Old Trafford, Lallana equalising, they're just absolute scenes. And I can't even remember watching the pitch after that for about 5 to 10 minutes, to be honest, because I was just there giving it to Man United fans who were sort of overhanging us.
For him to come on and get the goal, was just justification for him. Like, you know, I think he understands his role within the squad, that he's not a first team member anymore, and I get the doubters in front of it, but ultimately Jurgen Klopp makes the decisions, and Jurgen Klopp knows what he's doing.
For them to be able to get a point was a really good result for them, the form that we were in. That was a hard game, and Manchester United go on and have a decent season off the back of it, but, you know, I think Old Trafford is always a place where Liverpool are going to have a tough game, and we did have a tough game, but it didn't stop the move for me. It was all about going in there, showing that we're the dominant force, and that they couldn't beat us in their own backyard.
Going away to Old Trafford and getting a point when we actually probably could easily have just lost that game, that point was massive.
Hello and welcome to the Uncensored Match Build-Up Show. I am joined by Adam Rowe, by John Machin and by John Reid for this one as we look ahead to Liverpool travelling to Birmingham to face off against Aston Villa.
Remember going into that Aston Villa game, and we're 6 points ahead of them, aren't we? And you think, this is Aston Villa, you've got to beat them here. Like,
That Aston Villa game is the biggest game of the season. I was there, and the energy that was put out from the players and from the fans, and that was the embodiment, I think, of the never say die attitude.
And City are losing 1-0, and they turn it around, and then all of a sudden they're 2-1 up, and we're 1-0 down, and you know their game's ending, and Liverpool are losing. They're about to wrap up the 3 points, and they're 3 behind us, and we play them next week, and that is a pivotal moment of this season.
It's almost tit for tat. You know, City were behind in their game, and they end up winning, whereas Liverpool, as the game went on, just felt like, again, it's similar to Manchester United one, this is the one where we drop points.
Then it very looked like the moment where it was going to contract and City were going to be able to get the claws into Liverpool in terms of the title race.
That point in time, they probably don't even know the City results. So we've got this overriding view of everything that's going on, where we're about to go, City are about to go 3 points behind them, we're going to their place, and you know the gap that we've worked so hard for, 6 points, could be gone inside 7 or 8 days.
And then Andy Robertson and Sadio Mane, like, last gasp.
Andy Robertson, again, an embodiment of everything that's good about Liverpool. The thing that impressed me the most about that is Andy Robertson scores, and instead of celebrating, no one in that team celebrated. Andy Robertson said, pick up that ball, get back in formation, and we're going again.
Come on, Sid! Come on, Sid! Sadio!
The limbs in the away end, the feeling of unbridled positivity that came out of that game.
That wasn't luck, that was Liverpool going out there and showing that they were better than the other team, showing that they were willing to go for 90 minutes plus.
Never give up, and that's what this Liverpool side do, and the way in which they can turn games of football around 7 minutes from a losing position to a winning position is why we'll become champions.
Being able to see that as a fan, everyone being able to kind of take that on board and go, okay, we are never giving up on this team, because if we carry on believing, then players are going to carry on believing for us.
With City breathing down the neck, you know, there's a chance that at full time the gap's just 3 points.
They'll finish their game and they'll go and check the scores out, Liverpool get on, they'll go, bloody hell, they were 1-0 down with 10 minutes to go and they still won the game. Whereas they would have been a lot more confident going into play against Liverpool had Liverpool just lost.
They've had their big heroic moment, they've had their comeback, and they'll be walking off the pitch thinking, yes, we've done it. And whether there've been some murmurings or mutterings, and they might have heard it like Liverpool are down here, they oh, this might be our chance. And then to find out that Liverpool have turned it round in the fashion that they did, I think that's the first little stab between the ribs that led to City kind of bleeding out throughout the rest of the season. That could have been a moment where if Liverpool just don't get along the line, all of a sudden City are on the ascendancy, they're closing the gap. But actually what happened was Liverpool shut the door, and it's probably the first time Man City, Pep Guardiola, the Man City players start to think, this might be Liverpool's year and not ours.
Man City got to pick themselves up going again, and then Liverpool going to the City game full of confidence, full of joy, and equally so did the fans.
Adam Lallana starts against Aston Villa because Klopp can't run the risk of Fabinho picking up a yellow and missing out on the game.
Resting Fabinho against Aston Villa could have proved to be a massive gamble, but it turns out we won it.
And then you come to City and he's got his squad there and it's ready and it's pairing.
I'm thinking this could really tell us the story of this season. This could be 1920, where it's defined. You get a win here, sounds. You're on course for a league title. You draw this game, brilliant. Still good. You're still 6 points clear. You lose this game and the pressure's on.
Yeah, that City game was special. You've got to beat the people who were coming up close to you, and there wasn't anyone else apart from City. And the fact that we went out there and absolutely played them off the park.
When Liverpool are good against Man City, they grab the game by the scruff of the neck early and they take it to them, and Fabinho absolutely typified that. Fabinho steps up and just cracks one in.
I still remember the noise that it made, the little clink against the back of the net, and you're thinking, oh wow.
You just don't expect that, and then to Sal's go and top it off. I think he kind of puts, as a fan, it puts your nerves to bed pretty early on.
Fabinho, that goal is just one of the best of the season, but it's topped by Mo Salah's. The football for Mo Salah's header, the way the cross bounces before him and he just heads it past Ederson, you're just like, this is it. This is like 2 years ago when we played them in the Champions League. You blitzkrieged them and they've got no chance, and will they be able to answer us? And they couldn't.
Manchester City would have gone into that game full of hope that they could have got something out of that game. For them to go 2 goals down so early is deflating for them, and given Liverpool's defensive record as well, they wouldn't have fancied their chances.
And you're just thinking, we are that much better than our closest rivals. They think that there was a penalty shout in there before Fabinho's goal, and everything seemed to be going against them, and maybe that was a thing where they're thinking everything is against us.
Guardiola can be a little bitch. An unbelievable repertoire, and what he does on the football field's amazing, but he's a salty little bitch when it doesn't go his way, and he feels like, you know, when it doesn't go his way, he acts like a petulant little child for me.
Pep Guardiola is a very emotional manager, and I think when you cause him to lose his composure, you've won half the battle.
And if you're seeing your manager in any walk of life, in any job that is losing their head, it has an effect on what you do and how you go about your business as well.
And when they see their manager as frayed as that, I think that's a massive win. It's as good as scoring a goal when you make Pep Guardiola crack.
And they would have been frustrated with the referee or decisions or the Liverpool players or the fans or whatever else was going on in that game. But they need to look to their manager for some sort of composure. And when he kind of lost it, which I don't think anyone's really seen from him to that level before.
You know, we were able to put that pressure on him, and their side weren't able to step up to it. It's a position that they're not used to being in.
You've made Pep Guardiola lose his head. That's, you know, that's a shift. That's a shift in mentality, and that says Liverpool are the team on top.
But what Liverpool did to them there forced them into their bad run of form for the rest of the season, as I see it.
The atmosphere was absolutely electric, and I don't think I'm the only one who was in the crowd that day thinking, yeah, this Liverpool side's the real deal, and it's going to take a hell of a lot to stop us winning the league.
That is a launching pad for the next part of the season, because you go in there, you're 9 points clear after beating Manchester City convincingly, and all of a sudden, you know, you're starting to make this look easy.
I genuinely walked out thinking we're going to win the league this season, because they've been so pivotal years before. That game, the way we played, the way we put them to the sword, that was not like it was something I publicised, but that was my first real inkling that we were going to be league champions. So December rolls around, and look, we remember last season when Liverpool broke their own record for consecutive wins and points earned in that period. They were unreal, but it was another season where once again we were top of Christmas and once again we didn't go and win the league, you know, so it got chucked on that pile of heartbreak instead. So you've got that in the back of your mind.
I was worried about December, if I'm honest with you, looking at all the fixtures and not knowing how we'd rotate the squad.
I think going into December's always a tough one because it's the busiest time of the year, the most fixtures, but even more so for Liverpool this year, because we still have the Club World Cup to go into. We didn't know what was going on with the Carabao Cup fixture, where we fit that in as well.
I think at the time I was thinking we can go and do this, but we can't get through in every competition. Something's got to give at some point because we've not got the biggest squad in the league.
How do Liverpool deal with this amount of fixtures? How do they keep people fit, happy, still win games, still progressing in competitions? But we did it.
Every time Liverpool's given a problem to beat, they do it with flying colours, and they've been slowly progressing through that all the way through the year.
The Merseyside derby is always a big game on the pitch, but this was a big game off the pitch as well because David Duckenfield had just been found not guilty just a few days before. And what I like about Liverpool and Everton's relationship is you can hate each other when you're on the pitch, but when it comes to Hillsborough, they stand together. That's one of the things I love most about this city. Football is so important, but it's not as important as that. And when an injustice like that happens, you come together and sing Justice for the 96 for the first 6 minutes of the game. It was an emotional moment really, and one I'm proud to be part of, even though you'd much rather not be a part of it.
Doesn't matter whether we play a weekend team, it doesn't matter, as it turns out, whether we're going to play kids in a cup competition against them. They've got a mental block about coming to Anfield at this point. You know, Silva gets sacked and the gap between Liverpool and Everton is as big as it's ever been. Probably the most disheartening thing for an Everton fan, I'd guess, is knowing that Liverpool don't even rate you enough to play the first 11 against you anymore. Klopp just thinks it's another game, and that's a testament to how easy we've had it in derbies at Anfield in recent years.
All around us, come back singing, having fun. It's the season, love and understanding. Merry Christmas, Everton.
Liverpool have just beaten Salzburg by 2-0 in the Red Bull Arena to qualify for the Champions League round of 16.
The Champions League was a weird one. You know, the way we handled it was business-like.
We didn't play great football during the group stages. I think Liverpool haven't played great football over the group stages last couple of years. You know, it's about making sure that you're there and making sure that you can rest players and focus on the league season at the same time, and
needing to play seriously, needing to beat Salzburg in the last game when we could have had it in our own hands before that was seen as a fear at the time. The squad might fall short and it might have a detrimental knock-on, but they just took it in the stride, beat Salzburg and went through to the last 16.
It's about spinning plates, isn't it? The Champions League group stages for a club of Liverpool's stature and a club as good and a team as good as this Liverpool side. So it's a professional group stage performance. It's not a scintillating group stage performance, but ultimately you get through and that's what matters.
That's on top of the league. That's on top of the league.
If you'd have asked me at the start of the season, something's got to give. Well, all day, you've got to focus on the Premier League. You've got to bring the Premier League trophy home. Getting through to the last 16 of the Champions League and seeing the gap at the top of the Premier League and knowing how sort of all-conquering this side's been and how they've swept everything aside, I've got to say I was thinking about a double, and I wasn't the only one.
Klopp will take Liverpool to the Club World Cup in Qatar and leave reserve coach in charge for the Carabao Cup quarter-final. The Birmingham-Qatar double-header with obviously Aston Villa and Monterrey day-to-day, back-to-back. two Liverpool squads, 2 games, 2 days, 2 continents. Insane.
Playing in the League Cup one day and then literally playing in a different continent the next. Nobody's done that before.
But genuinely, we've got a 99. We're at the limits.
The kids got battered. The kids got absolutely battered in the League Cup, but it was fine. It was actually a really enjoyable experience watching it.
I mean, I know we got pumped 5-0, but it was just good fun. It was a really bizarre day.
Qatar was great. You're looking at loads of people travelling to a country you'd never go to. Loads of Liverpool fans just going, I'm going there because I want to see us win this. The chance to go over and see Liverpool become world champions, that's something special.
Qatar, I think, was one of the best experiences of my life.
It was strange for us. Obviously, we went over with FIFA and we kind of got to see the behind the scenes of the World Cup stuff and we watched it kind of removed from the Liverpool fans.
Just getting to see the setup of new stadiums that are going to be used in the World Cup that hadn't been used yet. We got to drive around in trucks in sand dunes and stuff like that. It was just an unbelievable experience.
I'd love to have been over there. The time didn't quite work out for us personally, but it's one of those competitions, isn't it? Like, it doesn't matter, but it does matter.
If it was another team playing in it, I don't think I'd have gave it any real attention, and I certainly haven't done greatly in the past.
A competition, because you're not in it year in, year out, you probably kind of disregard. Liverpool haven't been in this for, I don't know, 10, 12 years since, we won the Champions League last time, or probably even longer than that. So, because it's not in your memory, it doesn't resonate with you, so you can't think it's a nothing competition. But when you're in it, you've got a chance to be the best club in the world.
It's huge for South America, and you realise it's the biggest thing in football for all of them. And so to win it and just to be able to call yourself world champions, I mean, that's an incredible thing.
There was a lot of teams there that had been there over the years and knew how to be there and knew what they were doing, and they were celebrating and going around the streets, and it was great to see that. Actually, it was great to see that party atmosphere.
If you're the champion of Europe, you're expected to get into the final of the competition, and then even then, you're expected that you're the better side and you're the favourites for it, whether that's the case or not. The fact is, Liverpool go in there, play a rotated side in the semi-final, get through, and then go and win it.
The fact that it was Flamengo, I think, gave it just an extra added spice, because Flamengo had this, I don't know, like a rivalry with us that I never knew we had, from the 80s. And they had songs, and they were really fired up to play Liverpool, so it added a lot more to it. And obviously you've got Roberto Firmino there, obviously Brazilian, coming up against the Brazilian side, and you could see what it meant to him.
It was a very strange thing seeing Liverpool being overrun by these other fans. We were a very small minority over there, in the ground especially.
We went out there and we had the history with Flamengo as well, and their crowd, the amount of fans they brought with us, considering they had to come from much further away. They were just everywhere. Every time we went out for a day out somewhere, there was Flamengo fans in a hotel, there was Flamengo fans. Every time we went to a game, which wasn't necessarily a Liverpool game or a Flamengo game, there was Flamengo fans there. In our minds, Liverpool are the biggest and the best football club in the world, and to us, they are. But to other people around the world, it's their club and what they've achieved and what they do. But because the Brazilian league isn't massive over here, I think again we kind of disregard that. So to be able to appreciate and respect another set of fans, I think was one of the best things that I took away from that trip.
Firmino, yeah, yeah.
Firmino scores an absolute worldie of a goal, really, sits down 3 players and scores it and wheels away, and it was great.
Roberto Firmino in that Club World Cup was full of confidence, something that he kind of thrived on, whether that was motivated by the fact that he was playing the Brazilian side, that he felt he had something to go and prove, or the fact that he was just bang up for that game, or it was the climate, or whatever else.
Those lads wanted to be world champions, and it was typified by the likes of Roberto Firmino, and I think it's great that he's the one who gets the deciding goal, because he's brilliant, and I think when people look back on the season, they'll remember what a phenomenal input he had.
And I think, you know, his celebration kind of said it all of, you know, what it meant to him to score the winning goal to make Liverpool the champions of the world.
We're in a trophy hunting mood at that point, and it was special to see that we're going through the motions. That's what champions do.
There's no doubt about it, this team were known as bottlers, not in Liverpool, but there were question marks asked about them in finals. Basel, Kiev, obviously we've lost cup finals against Manchester City as well in the Capital One Cup or whatever it was called back then. So question marks are asked, can Klopp deliver a big trophy? And you know, you get Old Big Ears, the biggest of all, and you can just see the confidence. Now they're not a side that have to go out and play the best to win trophies. Now they're a side that go out there and win games of football. And on the back of that, they win the trophies. It's a mindset thing.
Success breeds success. And once you've done it once, there's a muscle memory to it. And Jordan Henderson was no longer a man doing an impression of a Liverpool captain. He was genuinely a worthy Liverpool captain.
It's probably like an addiction for them, isn't it? You know, having win that Champions League trophy and then the Super Cup, and then thinking, you know, they're in another competition.
They think that they're going to win it, and they go out there and they wear teams out. And that, for me, is the greatest thing about this Liverpool side. It's that unerring belief in yourself that you are going to go and win, and it kind of spills over into the opposition, and they go out and teams are beaten before they've played us.
You crave more. You know for a fact every single one of them players are going, I want that again, lads. Right, let's have a party, but we know there's bigger stuff out there than this. World champions sound so big, but in terms of club football, there are bigger things out there, and we're still going for them. We're still in the running for this. Let's just do it.
And then he's in a foot race with the fastest man alive. It was a Daniel James or something like that, and he can't catch him. And then there, he's bearing down onto the Kop, onto David De Gea, nestles into the back and into the net, and there's just this explosion, this guttural roar from the Kop.
Unreal, and then you jump around going ballistic, and then all of a sudden there's Alisson.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed episode 1 of our wonderful mini documentary series. If you want episodes 2 and 3 where, spoilers, things get really, really good, do go over to the redmentv.com and sign up. It is £5 a month. Not only will you gain access to that full series, there is a wealth of a back catalogue of epic proportions there for you to delve into. Player interviews, past and present, 2 interviews with the gaffer as well, and of course weekly extra content analysing every angle of Liverpool Football Club to keep you happy and smiling and celebrating Liverpool, of course, being the champions of the world, the champions of England, and one-time champions of everything. Get over there, sign up, and enjoy the documentary.